evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Rate Network and Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man. And with me this evening, I have NBA veteran Paul McKeskey. Paul, how are you doing this evening, my friend?
Doing great, man. Just living a life here in Las Vegas.
I hear you, sir. Now, you know what, folks, for those who may not know, Paul was drafted by the Houston Rockets in 1979. He was a second-round pick. 42nd overall pick, if I can remember correctly. And, he had an outstanding career. He played with the Houston Rockets. He also played with the Cleveland Cavaliers, Detroit Pistons, Golden State Warriors, and, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks, which we all know him very well for. And then after his playing days were over, Paul decided to go into coaching, and he coached from 1994 to about 2018. Can you let the viewers who may not know, and can you reflect on your playing career as well as your coaching career?
Well, I love basketball ever since I was a little kid growing up in LA. And then got pretty good at it in high school, was recruited by every college in the country, went to Kansas University. I was a starter there for 4 years. Then was drafted by Houston, like you said, in the second round. And my goal was to have a 10-year NBA career. That was my goal, and ended up with 12 years in. So, I met my wife at Kansas, got married, had 2 children in Milwaukee. They're all grown now. And then I went overseas for a couple of years and played. And then afterwards, I didn't really want a real job, so I went into coaching, not understanding not understanding how difficult it is to make money and get in at the right level. And, so I coached in the old CBA for years, and then the G League, which was then the D League. And I've coached at college in Stony Brook and at USC. I've coached internationally with the Jamaican national team, and then with the Great Britain national team in the 2012 Olympics in London. And have loved it ever since. And I told you I didn't want a real job, and no day as a coach or a player did I feel like I was going to a job. I just loved every minute of it. And, so I still have a lot of information, still do some consulting here and there, and still love the game of basketball. Always will.
What are your fondest memories of being a Milwaukee Buck?
Just getting settled there, played there for 7 years, had my family, being part of the community. Had a charity golf tournament for Children's Hospital for a few years, raised money for them. And on the court, just playing with great teammates from Bob Lanier to Brian Winters to Junior Bridgman, and then later with Sidney Moncrief and Paul Pressey and Jack Sitma and Terry Cummings, and on and on, Jay Humphreys, Larry Kristoviak. So we had really good teams. We could never get over the hump. In the playoffs, we would beat Philadelphia and then lose to the Celtics, or we'd beat Boston and then lose to Philly, and they would go on to win championships. And we could never get over that hump. But we were a great basketball teams all those years, but I made so many friends, and it was more than just basketball. I can honestly say, in 7 years in Milwaukee, with all the teammates I had, there was not one teammate that I didn't like or that was a jerk. And that's something, especially in pro sports.
I can imagine. Now, looking back on your playing career, and who was your biggest rival for you personally?
Oh, I mean an individual?
Correct.
That's hard to say because I played against some of the best, from Dave Cowens to Robert Parrish to Kevin McHale to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Artis Gilmore.
Oh Lord.
Just great players. And, for most of my career, I came off the bench, and my job was to try and make their game a little more complicated and cause some problems and uh, play a role that a lot of players don't want to play, coming off the bench, accepting your role, doing the little things, taking charges, rebounding, diving on the floor, being a passer. And that's where I fit in. And I accepted it and had a great career from it. But a lot of young players today, they want to be the starter and they want to be the high scorer and they want to get all the shots. They want to get their touches. That's not what it's all about. It's about being part of a team and winning. And if you look back, if I'm not mistaken, in the '80s with the Celtics and Philly and the Lakers, the Milwaukee Bucks of the '80s had the best record overall in those 10 years. And
Wow.
that's something.
I didn't know that. Wow. That's interesting. Now we're going to touch on your coaching career for a little bit. And you as a coach, now you talked about you came off the bench, you knew your role. How important is it, you being a coach, when you're looking at a player? Player A has all the talent in the world, but is a knucklehead. Player B may not be as gifted as player A, but he has the right attitude, and he's a team player. And I think you know how important it is to get along with your teammates, and sometimes it might be even better to be a better person than just an egomaniac. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's right on point. And I think the best teams, the greatest teams at any sport, at any level, are the teams that are well-rounded. People play their roles. And I always say most people know their roles. They just don't accept them. You need to accept them.
Correct.
And that's the difference. As a coach, whenever a team was struggling, they always say, Coach, I'd ask individual players, why do you think we're struggling? Coach, nobody knows their roles on this team. So what I would do is I'd have a process that I use. So I would get with the whole coaching staff, sit down, go through every name on the roster and explain three things what their role is.
Yeah.
He's our scorer. He's our leader. He's our rebounder. He's our defender. He's our guy off the bench. He's our whatever that is. Let's see, three things with every player. And then I would put it up on the whiteboard, and then I'd cover it up, and then I'd have the whole team come in, and I'd give them the Sharpie, and I'd say, okay, hey, I want everybody one at a time, go up to your name and write three things you think your role is. And 90% of the time, they wrote pretty much exactly what the coaches wrote.
Okay.
And it's not that you don't know your role, you don't accept it and relish in it and be the best you can at whatever your role is. And that's what that's what a successful team does. And, I've been a head coach in overseas. I've been a head coach in the G League. And I tell, in training camp, I tell every player in a meeting, listen, I got 18 guys in this camp. I can keep 10 of you. And I'm not looking for the 10 best players. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not looking for the 10 best players. I'm looking for the 10 players that make up the best team. And, and that blows their mind because every young player says, well, coaches keep the best players. Not all the time. And if you're a knucklehead and a hassle for coaches, I always tell young coaches, you're in training camp or practice right now, and you have a player that's, he's good, but he's not your best player or whatever, but he's a problem for you. You're always mad at him or he's always mad at you. Get rid of him. It's not worth it. Because you're going to have trouble all year. You're going to have headaches all year. So get rid of them now. And, if you're a headache or a problem child or whatever, you better be really, really good, or most coaches will just cut you anyway. It doesn't matter how good you are.
That's true. Now, Paul, also, you talked about and reflecting on your playing years that there really wasn't a teammate that you didn't have any problems with, that you liked them all.
Now,
as a coach
in Milwaukee,
Okay.
7 years out of 12.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Now, as a coach, did you ever deal with knuckleheads?
Absolutely. Every coach does, especially, and if it's the NBA or the G League or college or even high school, you're going to deal with knuckleheads because they're they're everywhere. So here's my question is to the staff or myself. So this player adds this to us to our team on the court. Is that more valuable than having him as a headache? Or can I talk to him specifically alone and say, listen, I want to keep you on the
Mhm.
team. You can help us. You can become a better player, but you got to change this or that. You got to change your body language. You got to change how you address your teammates. You can't yell at your teammates. You can't talk back to coaches, or else we have a problem and you're not going to stay on this team. So there's different ways to go, but very rarely, I would always say at training camp, listen, some of you guys are not going to like the way I coach, and I'm not going to like some of the way you guys play, but we're going to be a team, and I'm never going to embarrass you. So I'm never going to take you out of the game, scream at you when you go to the bench, yell at you when you're sitting on the bench, and make faces at you when I take you out of the game. I'm not going to do that. Now, in practice or in a meeting, I might do that to make a point, but never in a game, never in
Right.
front of people. However, it goes two ways. So when I take you out of a game, I don't want to see you roll your eyes or nod your head or walk off with bad
Mhm.
body language or throw a towel or look at me all like, what's wrong? And, and we got no problem. Now you could talk to me afterwards, Coach, why I didn't play more, whatever, but not in front of fans, not in front of, the people, not in front of kids. That's not how it's going to go. And if it goes that way, we have a problem and we'll address that problem.
Now, Paul, also, as far as your coaching career, what do you think was, oh, matter of fact, let me rephrase this. Who was probably the best player you've ever coached?
Oh man. Um, I was an assistant coach in Dallas for 5 years, and we had a player named Dirk Nowitzki, and we had a player named Steve Nash.
I think I've
um,
heard of him. I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
and when I coached with Chris Finch was the head coach in Great Britain, and we played in the Worlds. I was there for 3 years, and we played in the Olympics. Luol Deng was our player on our team, and he was something special
Oh,
too. But you know,
ooh.
and there's been some special players in the D League that I coached for 8 years there, and I have a lot of players that made it to the NBA. I would say one special player that not only as a player but as a person that I really respected, and you know, uh, he could be part of my family. He was part of my family. Is Garrett Temple, who just signed
Oh,
with Seattle, I think, or not Seattle, with Washington or somebody. So this is his 15th year in the league, and he played for me. He played for me in RGV in the D League, and he was just a guy. He did everything, played defense, great attitude, scored when he needed, good passer, great point guard, could play two guard, and did whatever you would ask. Great guy on and off the court. Nothing spectacular. Didn't average 30 points. He averaged 16 points, 11 assists, and 8 rebounds. And he has a 16-year NBA career. He's made millions and millions of dollars.
wow. That's incredible. Now, Paul, if you could you let the viewers know something that maybe they don't know about you as a player or coach that maybe might be interesting for them to become aware of?
Well, I would think that most people as fans, most people think players just kind of show up for the game in 2 hours and they perform, and and they make a lot of money, and that's partially true, but they don't see the hours and hours of training we did in practice and in the weight room and in the off season. They don't see how many hours and days and holidays we miss with our family because we were playing on the road,
Yes.
either as a coach or
Yeah.
a player. And I remember I wasn't home for Christmas three Christmases in a row with my little sons because we were playing on Christmas Day.
Wow.
So we celebrated a day
Wow.
early, you know. So I don't think they understand that, and I don't think players, some, but coaches. I was an advanced scout for the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years, along as as an assistant coach, and so I was on the road scouting our opponents that we're going to play the next week and writing out reports and diagrams of what plays they ran, what tendency they have, what substitution pattern, what play calls, last second plays. So I was probably on the road, 22 days out of each month. I was on the road flying and reports and flying again and writing reports. And, I don't think people understand that. And they also don't understand that, after my playing career, I was a player coach in the CBA for a year. Then I was an assistant coach for 2 years. Then I was a head coach for a year. Then I was trying to get in the NBA all this time I played for 12 years in the NBA. I played for general managers and head coaches that could hire me, and I never got that break. And then I went to the college route at USC and Stony Brook for a couple of years. So that's 6 years. And then I coached in the G League for 8 years before I got my chance with
Whew.
the Mavericks. So I don't think people understand, and all those years in those lower levels, I wasn't making very much money. So I don't think people understand that, the sacrifice that goes in. When I have former players or some young coaches come up to me and say, I want to get into coaching, I say, well, you better have a thick skin. You better be in it for the long haul. And if you're married, you better have a spouse that is willing to sacrifice with you both financially and travel wise. I've been married to my wife, Linda, for 44 years. In
Wow.
those 44 years, we've moved 28 times in 44.
Oh.
So
Wow.
that's moving as a player, whether it's being traded or cut and picked up by another team, and that's coaching at different levels. Where if you're not a big time coach like Steve Kerr, who's a friend of mine, or Chris Finch, those guys make a lot of money and have 5-year contracts. When you're an assistant coach, even in the NBA and in the G League, your contract's 1 year. So that change, mostly your contract's just 1 year. I mean, in 23 years of coaching, I think I had a 3-year contract twice. And everything else was year by year. So at the end of every season, you got to wonder if you have a job again. And if not, you better start finding another one. And I don't think a lot of people realize that.
Now, my former collegiate coach, I think you may know him. He went the long route and he became an assistant coach for many years, and he did end up getting an opportunity to coach a couple years in the NBA. His name is Jim Todd. Are you familiar with him?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my guy. That was my guy. He's a
I
nice
mean,
guy.
it's a small fraternity. I mean, an NBA player, I belong to the Retired Players Association, and we get together at the All-Star game and stuff and tell stories and have a great time. There's only, in the 100-year history of the NBA, there's only like 2,500 players ever that played more than 5 years, ever. So that's a tight community. And when you look at coaching in the NBA, nowadays there's so many more coaches, right? Every team
Yes.
has like 6 coaches.
Yes. Yes.
When I grew up, every team had 2 assistants and 1 head coach. That's it. So there's 110 jobs. So you get to know like I knew Todd, and I knew a lot of people know everybody, especially as an advanced scout and moving around. You're on your own, and you run into other advanced scouts for other teams, and a lot of them. Bickerstaff Jr. in Detroit, he's the head coach. He was an advanced scout when I was, and you get to know people and build relationships. And in reality, in the NBA level, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's who you
Uh-huh.
know. So you need to make those relationships. And by the time when someone's a head coach, you can't make a relationship then. They already have a million people wanting your jobs from you. You need to make those relationships like Well, maybe Michael's going to be a head coach someday, even though he's assistant. I'm going to get to know him, make a friendship with him. So, Michael, if you get a head job, you're going to hire me. If I get a head job, I'm going to hire you.
Right.
That's how that thing works.
Mm-hmm.
And in college now, unless you have contacts with players, whether you can get them in transfer portal and from AAU teams, you have that contact. I can get you these players. You can't be an assistant coach in college for the most part. It's about bringing players to the program, not
That's
really coaching anymore, especially with the transfer portal. It's
right.
just crazy.
We're going to get into that a little bit later on, but before we go into the NBA landscape and all the things that we want to talk about, the gambling and all that, the NBA lost a few people recently, and probably a lot of folks probably don't really recall, but I do. The great Lenny Wilkins and, of course, Michael Ray Richardson and Adebayo, am I pronouncing his name? Adebayo, the coach and all that.
Yeah.
What is your reflection on, we'll go with Michael Ray Richardson first.
Yeah. So I played against Michael Ray in the NBA, and if people don't know, Michael Ray Richardson was Magic Johnson before Magic Johnson.
I was going to get into that. Okay.
He was a 6'7", 6'8", 6'7" point guard, legitimate point guard that could pass, score, was fearless, get to the basket, finish around the rim. There's great pictures of him finishing around the rim, and wasn't afraid of anything, and attacked the rim. The problem with Michael Ray was he had a drug problem, and it took and it ended up getting him banned from the NBA for life until later on. I think David Stern reinstated him later on because Michael Ray went overseas and played, and he was just a phenomenal player. He did stuff on the floor that Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, they looked at like, wow, look at what he just did. And people don't know what a great player he was. And I actually got to coach against Michael Ray up in the Canadian Pro League. I was a head coach of a team, and he was the head coach of a team, and we had battles as head coaches. And he was very animated as a head coach and intimidated the referees, and that made me mad. So I tried to. But we would sit down maybe before a game up in Canada, and I was away from my family, he was away from his family, and we'd just sit down and talk about some old times, but mostly talking about where we are now and how our families are and what we're doing, and so it's a bigger loss than people. If he would have had control of his problem and played 10 to 12 years in the NBA, he would be up there with some of the great point guards in the league, for sure, ever.
And you are absolutely correct. And I did a little bit. I know quite a bit, but I did a little bit of research. He went to the University of Montana, which was kind of different, I would think. But he ended up going to University of Montana. I know he didn't start until his senior year, and then I know when he ended up playing with the Knicks, he had made some complaints to the fact that because he didn't average a lot of points in the NBA with all that talent, you would think. But his accomplishments are pretty good. He was if I get it right. Yeah, I think he was a 4-time NBA All-Star, 2-time All-Defensive First Team, NBA Comeback Player of the Year, NBA Assist Leader. I mean, that is a phenomenal career. I mean, I guess he was complaining about the system that the Knicks had, whereby he wasn't more of an offensive player that he thought he could be. But he ended up having, like you said, if he didn't have those issues, he was Magic before Magic. You know what I mean? And watching him play and the way he would go coast to coast, and like you said, the way he would finish was absolutely amazing. And like you said, a lot of people people in New York know, but a lot of people probably really don't know.
Yeah, they also don't know that Michael Ray had a serious stutter problem, and
that's true. That's true.
So communicating, you had to have patience with him. And I know,
that's true.
During his playing career, I know teammates gave him crap for it, and he had to kind of withstand that. And he kind of made fun of himself sometimes, but so he came through that also. That was another hurdle for him. And I just unfortunate that a lot of people didn't get him see him play and didn't get him to see him play at his highest level.
Right.
Or the drugs got control of him for a while. And he was really something. And I remember playing against him in New Jersey when the Nets were there.
Okay.
And he had a little more freedom there. He played with a friend of mine, Mike Kaminsky, and Mike Korn, and they told some stories about him at practice and stuff. But when he's on the court, he was all business.
And can you picture him with Bernard King? That is that's that is phenomenal. To me, that was must see TV. And then, again, it's unfortunate that he had those drug issues, and the NBA had lost one of the greats that I feel all-time NBA could have been one of the greatest point guards, as you said. And it's a tribute that Magic Johnson has given him the acclaim and the notoriety that he properly deserves. So I don't know what the NBA is going to do. I have no idea. That's I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and I think they've already had some moments of silence for both Lenny and Michael in games, and Richie Adubato.
Awesome. Now, I know this next individual, I don't recall him playing in college, although I know he went to Providence College, the great Lenny Wilkens. What's your reflection on the great Lenny Wilkens?
Well, Lenny coached me in Cleveland for a year. The year I was a free agent after 7 years in Milwaukee, and the Cleveland signed me, and he was the coach. And they had the team back then that were going to be the next Chicago Bulls. If you remember, the year before, they lost to the Bulls when Michael Jordan made that shot over Craig Elo.
Yes.
That was the year before I got there. And I went there to back up Brad Daugherty, a great center out of North Carolina. And they had Gary Nance, Hot Rod Williams, Craig Elo, Mark Price, Steve Kerr, just to name a few. And he was the coach, and he was just everyone respected. I think he was an 8-time All-Star as a player. He's in the Hall of Fame as a player, a coach, and with the Dream Team 3 times. And I think NBA players, they know what you're about after about 15 minutes of practice. If you come into practice as the new head coach or a head coach and don't know what you're talking about or trying to fake it, we'll see that in a second, and then it's over. But the great coaches like Lenny, even though he was never a screamer, I don't think I ever, in 82 games, in 8 months, I don't think I ever heard him scream or yell, except maybe twice at halftime, maybe. And that's amazing, because 82 games in 8 months, you go through a lot. And but he had control of the locker room. When he spoke, everybody was silent. Everyone was listening to him, whether it was in the locker room, whether it was in a meeting, whether it was on the practice court, whether it was in a huddle. And the reason is because how he was such a great player, but also he knew the game so well. He knew the intricacies and the ins and outs, and he had played it. I think players respect former players because they know you've done it before. It used to drive me crazy if I was on a team and some 5'10" assistant coach was telling me how to guard Kareem.
Right?
You're telling me this. Yeah, you try to do what you're telling me. And I think that was part of Lenny's respect, and the way he communicated with respect, it went back at him. And he was just a great guy, the nicest guy, respectful. He's so quiet. I told this story on some other show the other day. So I had got there. They had already had that great team, and I was going to be the backup, the added piece. And so I was fitting in and playing my role coming up. I knew what I was doing. And but Lenny never really said anything. He welcomed me to the team, maybe said a couple things. And like in 2 months. And we were in an airport at a layover in Atlanta or something. And we had a couple hours layover, and I saw him sitting in the corner reading a USA Today paper. And I went over to him. I said, Coach, you got a minute to talk? He said, yeah, Mo, what's up? So I sat down. He said, do you like, how I fit in? No, it's great. It's unbelievable. I said, you don't really talk to me. Do you like me? He said, yeah, I like you a lot. I'm just not that vocal guy. But that's how quiet he was as a head coach, which that's very unique in that situation. And plus, I know a lot of coaches. He was one of the first black head coaches in the NBA. He was one of the first. And I know so many have come after, and they all looked up to and respected him. And he kind of was a trailblazer in that, in an avenue of, former players and be able to be head coaches. And I know a lot of players, and a lot of players leaned on him and talked to him. They called him and they asked him for advice. And I know a couple guys that I know that I've talked to since he's passing, and they would say, Mo, he never turned down a call. He always answered my call or called me right back or text me right back and answered any question I had to the best of his ability and gave whatever advice I was asking for. And a lot of coaches, believe me, I know a lot of coaches don't do that. A lot of coaches don't return calls or texts right away, if at all. And he was just one of those guys. There's a lot of guys that do, Popovich, guys like that return them and immediately. And he was one of those guys that you knew if you text him or called him, he was going to call you back or answer you.
My recollection of him, man, he was just, he had that left hand. I mean, he really wasn't that quick. He didn't have a lot of jumping ability, but he was very effective. He was a 9-time All-Star. He was All-Star Game MVP. And then he not only had an outstanding playing career, but his longevity as a coach was absolutely amazing. I think I can look it up, but I think at one time he had the most wins as an NBA coach at one time. I think. I could be wrong. I think he was up there. I think he was.
Yeah, he was up there.
And by the way, I think.
Yeah, and so
and I know for a fact he was. Go ahead, Paul.
And I know because I know I was in Dallas when Don Nelson broke either his record or one of his records in coaching. Because in my 20 years, I've been coached by 3 Hall of Fame coaches: Del Harris, Don Nelson, and Lenny Wilkins. And that's a high level there. And but I remember I was an assistant coach in Dallas when Nelly broke either his record or one of the other records. But he was definitely top 5 for sure.
Yes, and also what we failed to bring up the fact too is that not only was he a Hall of Fame player and a Hall of Fame coach, he's also part of the top 50 of all time as well. Yeah. And he was recognized for that as well. It to me, it's just so. I mean, it's incredible the career he's had, because to be that gifted and to play as well as you did as a player, and then take that to the next level and be a coach, and to last that long in the NBA is unbelievable in itself. And
there's very difficult. And when you look at all the coaches in the NBA, and there's very few head coaches in the NBA that were all-stars in the NBA, or that are in NBA or in Basketball Hall of Fame as players. There's very few.
Exactly. I think. Wow.
It's very, Bill
Russell,
Russell,
maybe.
Bill Russell, Willis Reed.
Yep, that's another one.
But it's very difficult.
Not too many.
No, it's very difficult when you're that level of a player. It's a lot of times it's difficult to relate to players that aren't as good as you. I mean,
right, exactly.
Magic Johnson lasted 1 month as the head coach of the Lakers, And then
I remember very well.
yeah, because he was frustrated that the players didn't have his dedication, didn't have his competitiveness, didn't want to win as bad. And if you're a Michael Jordan or Larry Bird is another player that was the head coach of Indiana. But
Yes.
that, mostly when you see, Jason Kidds and Steve Kerr's and maybe Phil Jackson's not, but Rick Carlisle, those guys were good NBA players, but they weren't Hall of Famers.
No, not at all.
And they're great coaches.
That's very true. But as you reflect, what do you want the viewers to know about Lenny Wilkens?
Just that, as great a player he was, as great a coach he was a better human being. He was just the nicest, respectful, classy guy. Class. I know I've known a lot of players that are class, but the top of that list is Dr. J. He exudes class, just a great guy and classy. Lenny Wilkens was at that level, just a classy, nice guy, great individual.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Now, let's talk about the NBA landscape and certain things that are transpiring in the NBA today. But let me just go back a little bit. What is your recollection on? What do you think? I'm gonna hit you hard with a question right now. If you were coaching today in college, with the NIL and the transfer portal, how would you handle that?
Well, number one, I need to coach a college that has a lot of NIL money, or I can't get players.
That's
you don't
the
have
bottom line.
I mean, I'm telling you, if there is a college out there that had $5 million a year in NIL money for their basketball program, you can hire me today, and I'll get to the Final Four in 2 years, easy, no question. Because if you have the money, but then at the same time, once you get the money, then you have to pick the right players. There's so many coaches that get all wrapped up into this guy's this talented and this guy, let's get this guy, let's get that. No, they have to fit in with what you do and the players you already have, or it's not going to work. So if you already have 2 great scorers on your team, don't go get a third great scorer. Get a third good scorer, solid guy, and get some defenders and some spot up shooters. Or, if you got, you got 5 guys that can really defend, you better get some guys that could go out there in the transfer portal and NIL money that can score, or you're not going to win any games.
That's
so
true.
It's got to be the whole fit. And what a lot of these colleges mistake now with the transfer portal and NIL money at the same time, it's the worst storm you can have. The NCAA made a huge mistake. They should have either done the NIL money or the transfer portal, but not the both at the same time.
Absolutely correct. You are
so now it's chaos. So, players are leaving for money. That's what they leave for, and that's not what it used to be. But there's a lot of coaches today that get all caught up with getting these players and they don't fit in with what they want to do, or overvaluing some players. This guy averaged 22 points and 8 rebounds on this mid-level team that didn't play anybody. And he's on a bad team. That someone has to score 20. If you score 80 points, someone's going to score 20. Doesn't mean you can come to your school and score 20 because you already got guys that can play, or you're playing against better competition. So that 20-point game guy becomes 10. And now you spent all that money on him, and a lot of coaches don't realize that. You really have to look at where they're scoring the points. There was guys in the NBA when I coached and when I played, everybody knew it, that you can stock your stats at the end of a blowout. If you're down by 20 and you're still in the game and you get the coach to leave you in, you can score 3 or 4. There's no 8 points. Instead of scoring 15, you got 18 or 20. That don't mean anything. Those are empty points, empty stats. I know a lot of NBA players that did that, or they're on bad teams. So if you're on an NBA team, you're going to score 100 points a game. Somebody has to score 20. Someone does. Doesn't mean they're that good. So,
that's true.
And I think college is really hit with that, with the transfer portal, players don't stick it out anymore. They just move around and they chase the money, and that's a big problem. So as a coach in college, you have to be aware of that. It's all not, you could go in a candy store and there's some good candy, but there's some black licorice in there that maybe I don't like, and
Right,
I don't pay
exactly.
money for that, So,
Yeah.
it's very, it's a tightrope now, So I got to have my players but then, they gotta want to still stay here or they'll just leave, they'll
Right.
just leave, and, there's so many teams that, and, back when I played, or even 20 years ago, college teams would add 2, 3 players a season, maybe a freshman and a JUCO guy and somebody else. They're adding 5, 6, 7 new players every year. How do you promote a system, a way of playing, and when players are coming in and out all the time, and a lot of those guys are coming from bad situations, bad coaches, bad teams, bad teammates. You know,
But okay, so Paul, how would you handle? I mean, you know, I'm playing for you, and I don't like the fact that I'm not getting any playing time, or you yelled at me and I didn't like it, so I go somewhere else. Now, also, you've been a college coach and you're recruiting, and when you first recruit someone, don't matter the talent level, and the first thing they ask is how much money. Does that turn you off, or does that? I mean, I think most coaches would want a player that want the player to play for the front of the jersey and not the back. So, what is your take on that?
the first thing,
Or it can play, and then that's it.
is the level of the player, because if they're a one and done or legitimate NBA prospect, right? I would say you're thinking the wrong way. You're thinking of trying to make money now. You're going to be in the NBA someday, right? And the money's going to come. Lots and lots of money. So instead of being concerned about the money now, you should be concerned about getting as good as you can get and prepare yourself for the next level. And that could be, even maybe it's not the NBA, maybe it's making 300 or 400 grand or 500 grand overseas in Europe. And guess what? I have contacts in the NBA, in Europe, all over the world that can help you get there. But you got to do it the right way. And Magic Johnson said it perfect when I talked about him earlier when he resigned. He said, number one thing that young players don't understand, they are chasing the money. And that's wrong. You need to win and get great, and then the money will chase you the other way around. And I don't think a lot of young players know that or understand that. So I'm gonna lay it out for them. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie to you, Michael, and say you're an NBA player, but you might be able to play in Spain or Italy.
Mhm.
Maybe you're at that level, but I know I can get you there. We're gonna get you some money. Stop worrying about the money and move on to being the best player, having the best career. And your NIL money, no matter how much you get, is not going to make you a better person or a good father or a good family man it's not. Being around good people that teach you what it takes to be that. That's what's going to make you that, not the money. So that's what my approach would be.
And also, Paul, now if in that situation with the NIL and the transfer portal, now you being a coach, how would you strategize your coaching when you don't know who's going to leave, who's coming? I mean, how would you go about handling something like that when, again, people are leaving spare a hat any moment? They can go here, go there. How can you develop any continuity, consistency, or a team structure when you don't know if these guys are going to be around 1, 2, 3, whatever?
So I'm going to have the deepest team, the most balanced team I can have. So if this guy leaves, I got somebody else going to fill his spot. And I
That's
got
key.
team scholarships. So I'm going to have some. So if you leave, we're not going to crumble. Next up, okay, Jonathan, Sam left. And remember, he was playing the role of a 3D guy. Well, that's you. That's what I got you here for. So now you step into that role, and guess what? I'm gonna go find somebody else that can back you up. So you got to have. It's like I did sales for a little bit, and I hated it. I hated cold and everything, but there was a person, and they taught me. There was a person that they were selling stuff, and they had a big account, and that was 80% of their sales was this one company.
Whoa.
Right. And then when that company changed hands, and they went and hired somebody else to do their stuff, that person was out of 80% of his income, 80% of what. So he put all his marbles in that one basket. And once they left, then you got to start all over again. There was another person in the same office that had all these medium level accounts. So if one account left, he's going to go find another medium account. So that's the same as players. If you rely on one or two players on your roster to do all the scoring, to do all the plays, to bring, then one of them leave, you're in trouble. But if you got, 5, 6, 7 guys, and you know what else that gives you? That gives you power. You come to me and say, I need more NIL money. I'm sorry, Michael, I don't have any more. You got the agreement. This is what it is. Well, then I guess this isn't the place for you. You probably have to go somewhere else. Good luck.
That was a great answer. You gave a great answer. That was fantastic. Now we don't have that much more time, but anyway, I want to get into the NBA landscape. The NBA. We had a recent, a little problem involving certain players with the gambling issue. What's your take on the gambling issue, and how widespread do you think it really is? And why did it seems that the focus was on Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones and Mike Rozier?
Well,
Terry
first
Rozier,
of all, first of all, Chauncey Billups' situation is totally different than the others because his was rigged poker games with the mafia. So that's a different subject than the other guys who are involved in game time gambling. And first of all, gambling's been around for as long as the NBA's been around. It was there when we played spades on the plane. We played backgammon, and players are competitive. They gamble on everything. However, our bets were, $20, $25. Today's bets are 20, 25,000. Yes. So that's a big difference. But, and there's the competitive thing. Guys like Michael Jordan, Don Nelson, guys like that are so competitive. They bet on anything. They bet on, I think a pigeon's going to land in the next 5 minutes. They bet on everything. I remember walking through an airport because we didn't fly. We flew commercial and had layovers, and one player was playing against the other player playing an old pinball machine and betting $20 a game. That's just the nature of the game and the competitive nature of people. And I'll tell you quickly a Michael Jordan story. So Steve Kerr told me this story. So Michael Jordan would bet rookies every year on their first road trips. He would bet them that his bag would come out before their bags out of the conveyor belt, at the airport. So he landed, and wait for everybody's waiting for that. Hey, I'll bet you $20 my bag comes out before yours. You're on. Okay, you're okay. And his bag always came out first, more in front of all those guys. Every time he won all their money. Never was he wrong. And Steve told me his secret because way beforehand in Chicago, he knew all the baggage handlers. So he gave them money to make sure his bag was first all the time. But that competitive level is there. And even in college and in the NBA, even when I played, they're always at training camp, an FBI agent, CIA guy, league office security would always talk to every team and say, listen, this is the people are going to approach you. This is what you can't. If you find yourself in an unusual situation, you need to call us and identify it, or else you'll get caught up in it. So like an example, because mafia gamblers are always after you. They're after inside information, any information. So here's an example. So I'm in New York playing for the Bucks. We get back from shoot around. I get on the elevator to my room at the hotel, and a guy comes on and he stands next to me, and he goes, "Are you Paul Moleskin? Play for the Bucks?" Yeah, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm going up my room. Wow, that's great. You're a great player. Love you. We'll love the way you play. Hey, I heard Sidney Moncrief turned his ankle last night. How's that feeling? That's how they do it. And if I say, well, he's
Wow,
probably going to play tonight, he's got the information to lay bets down. And that's how it
that's true.
starts. And that's how what they would expect me to do is I would call the league off and say, listen, someone approached me in the elevator about Sidney Moncrief's health. And then they can look into it. But now it's so much because that back then there was only bets on point spreads and who wins and who loses. The way the people are getting in trouble now because I live here in Vegas, all the prop bets, all this prop bets of this player's going to get this many rebounds or this many points, he's going to make a free throw, and that's where players. If I want to do that, I don't have to rely on winning or losing the game, or even beating the point spread. I don't have to care about that.
Right,
If
exactly.
the over under on me scoring 8 points against the Celtics tonight is 8 points, and I have somebody that wants to bet the under, I can just miss a couple free throws or a shot and I score 7 points and he wins money, I win money. And that's the problem. These prop bets are getting in the way. The baseball players just got
Yes.
arrested. And they
Dude,
in baseball, you can bet on what pitch is thrown in any position, curveball, fastball, the speed of the pitch. You can bet on if the pitch hits the ground, and that's where they caught him. You can make like 100-to-1 bet on if the next pitch hits the ground before it hits the plate, and that's what those guys were doing. And what happens is people get greedy, so you see $100,000 bet on the next pitch hitting the ground, you know that the fix is in. And I think those players got caught up in those kind of situations, and it seems like easy money, and it's easy to do, and then you're over your head. Uh, I think Chauncey Billups, my personal opinion, is he's involved in rigged poker games, and they called him the face card,
right. Mhm.
and he would bring in the players, and they would want to play, and someone would, and it's a mafia in Italy. That's who's involved. And someone asked me, well, what does he do? Go to Italy and meet him? No, I'll tell you how it happens. Like I told you, the thing that happened on the elevator, I'm going to tell you how the mafia gets into you. So maybe a couple of summers ago, Chauncey Billups is at Caesar's Palace playing poker and smoking a cigar, drinking, having a good time. And a guy next to him is doing the same thing. And they hit it. They get along. Hey, Sam, hey, you won that pot. That's great. Hey, you know what? My wife and I are having dinner afterwards. You want to join us? It's on me. No problem. Yeah, that'd be fun. Go up, have dinner with his wife, whatever, talk about stuff. And then maybe a little while later, the guy calls Chauncey. Now he's got a contact. Hey, Chauncey, I had fun playing poker with you the other night. You know what? We got a game in LA next week. You want to come out and have fun? We got a good group of guys. We smoke cigars. We tell stories. It's fun. And he goes, yeah, okay. And he comes out there and then he gets involved with something, bringing guys in, and then the mafia has you. And they have something on you. Maybe they gave him $100,000 to invite people or whatever. And now they got you and they can hold you over that. And, so it can happen many, many ways. And, it's so on point with the leagues now. Baseball, football, all this prop betting. You can bet on in the Super Bowl. You can bet on how long the national anthem is. 1 minute and 32 seconds. You can bet on that. So that's the one of the big problems because it's easy to adjust that. I mean, if I'm a singer national anthem and I know the over under is 2 minutes, and the land, I'm gonna go longer than 2 minutes. But I think, and they're dressing it that they got to get rid of the prop betting and a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think Adam Silver is going to have to handle this. If this process with these players and Chauncey is going to take a year or more, a year, they got to go through court.
Oh, absolutely.
So he can't do anything now, but if they are found guilty of what they're charged with, then he has to ban them for life. They have to be done for life, not 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, for life. And then that'll set the precedent of other players or coaches going, "Ooh, I don't want to do that. I got a good thing going." But if you do a slap on the wrist, you miss one season, big deal. I'll go play 3 more.
Now, Paul, I'm going to hit you with another question. Matter of fact, two parts to this question. Number one, why would Terry Rozier get involved? You kind of explained it, but I just want to get your take on it. Do you know what his salary this year is?
24 million?
26, something
26.
like 26 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would I get involved in some shenanigans when I'm making 26 mil?
I mean, I don't understand that. You don't understand that. It's hard to fathom. Here's like 26 mil after all said and done, it's probably 12 million that you make that year, which is unbelievable. But it's not what you think it is, but it's still, come on, man, 12 million, give me 12, okay. But that's where the competitiveness comes out. But also, maybe they're gullible or maybe, their buddy or somebody says, hey, I can make you a couple $100,000 cash right under the table. You can do whatever you want with it. It's easy. Just do this one thing in a game. And they go, no, I don't, okay, what the hell? No one's going to catch me. I can't understand that. There's no, like, I'll give you an example. At some colleges, and I've been in meetings where the head coach will go, guys, you need to get me better players recruiting. And another coach stands up and says, okay, coach, it's going to cost us more money to buy these guys under the table. This is before NIL. I'm going to buy them under the table. It's $100,000 for this guy. And he goes, well, you got to do what you got to do. And I'm like, why would you pay someone to win some games and he has your whatever's in a vice? Because anytime you discipline him or tell him something, he can say, coach, I'm going to say about that conversation. That's the case I got.
Yeah, and that's true.
He can ruin your career with one phone call. Why would you chance that? And coaches back then did it a lot. I don't get it. I don't understand. And if you're not only did it 26 million, but probably, I don't know how old he is, but probably at least 80 or 100 million more later. It's crazy. I don't understand.
And now allegedly, Kevin Garnett is involved. Allegedly. Now he's made over $600 million.
Yeah, I don't see that. I don't believe any. Until it, because you can. Do I believe that Kevin Garnett and some of these guys played maybe in those poker games? Sure, probably, but I don't think they were cheating. They probably lost money. So and I don't think they were point shaming either. So you could throw all these guys, Michael Jordan, whatever. They all and it's mind boggling too. So. I play golf with Michael. I play golf with guys. I would never bet with him because he has way more money than me, and it's stupid. But, I know. Okay, we're gonna play. The winner gets $100. Okay, great. Winner gets 10,000. No, we're not doing that because their thought process, the amount of money they make. So if I go play blackjack in Vegas, I bet 10, $15. That's like a nickel to them. They have to bet 15 grand to even feel it. So that's another tricky thing that they fall into.
Now, Paul, also, because of this gambling mess, do you think other players are going to be maybe brought, maybe and other names will be coming out soon?
Well, Malik Beasley's out there still, right?
Yes.
And that hasn't been determined yet.
You think there'll be more? Because what happens sometimes? They may.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And that's what does the FBI do? They would get somebody to turn and then turn all the names in. That's how they've
Uh-huh.
always worked. That's how they were. So I would look at the people that are involved right now and look at the most vulnerable as the guy that has the least money. And he can, hey, listen, hey, Michael, you're involved in this, and you're facing 20 years. But you know what? You give us some names and some information on some people, and we'll give you probation. You'll be fine.
Mhm. That's true.
What do
That's
you do,
true.
Michael? So, you know, I think it's odds are there probably maybe some more names, whether they come out or not. And the reason that the NBA has to wait is they don't have the ability to tap phones and wiretap and do all this stuff, and so they don't have the ability to do that. The FBI does, and that's when it's involved with the FBI. You better believe they have proof. They have information. I hope not, though.
Incredible.
Ooh, I hope not.
Now, can we? What is your take? Because to me, I think it's unbelievable. I think it's a big negative. The new NBA All Star format. What is your take on that?
I brought that up 2 or 3 years ago, and because I don't watch the All Star game anymore. It's embarrassing, right?
It
Score
is.
200. It's embarrassing. So I brought up 2 years ago the way the NBA can fix it is they need to have the international team play a USA team straight up 48 minutes, because I'm telling you how that works. First of all, five of the best top players are international players,
Exactly.
right?
That's
Jay
true.
Alexander, the Joker,
Right.
Giannis,
All the
uh,
MVPs.
Luca. They're all, let alone Murray, and these guys are all,
Ah,
Sangoon, the center for Houston.
yes,
So
yes.
those guys grew up playing for their country and playing hard every time, and their pride is saying something. So if you get the international team of 12 players to play the USA team, the international team will play hard and try and
Oh,
beat this US team, which in turn they will play hard and try not to get embarrassed, and you'll have a really good game. And it would be come down to the wire. I think maybe the international team wins, and unfortunately, when it was announced this summer, I thought they were going to do that. But instead, they do this three-team BS that, and in my opinion, that's a bailout of the NBA, because now the NBA can say, you know what? We didn't have all our best US players
that's
on one team,
that's
and
so
then they
true.
beat that team. So that to me, that's that's BS. International team, USA team,
I think
you
that
got it.
that would solve the issue right then and there. That would
Yeah.
definitely.
And I thought they were going to do it. I suggested it 2 years ago. I suggested Adam Silver when I saw him here at a game a couple years ago, and I thought they were going to do it. And now they did this three-team round robin, blah blah blah. I hate that. That's terrible.
Paul, unfortunately, we got to go. I got to have you back. I'm going to have you back. I got to have you back. But, it's a pleasure talking to you and hearing your knowledge and history. It's amazing. And again, I want to thank you for coming on my show. And
Yeah,
I got to have you back.
yeah. And Michael, I like to on Facebook Live every Monday. At 4 o'clock Western time, we have a show live. It's called We Got Next. So if your people
Okay.
here want to continue this kind of conversation, we have it every Monday before the NBA football game, Monday Night Football, and we talk about this and we take comments and questions. So please join us on that. And
And now,
also,
what's the show called again?
it's called We Got Next. Like we grew up playing, right? We
Yeah,
got
we got next.
next. Yeah. And
Now,
it's
I'm
on.
going to tune in. This is for the viewers because I want to
Yeah.
tune in. You know me,
Yeah.
I'm going to tune in.
So we'll be on Monday at 4 o'clock. That's 7 o'clock Eastern time. And it's with Ricky Hamilton, who used to be a reporter for Detroit Pistons and the Lions. And we talk basketball and take questions and comments from all you guys. Just, we talk about everything. And also, I have a show on Hulu with CJ Watson, who played in the NBA, and Jesse O, who's an announcer. And we're on, it's a TV show, and it's called Basketball Past, Present, and Future.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And you can look on YouTube, Hulu, wherever you get podcasts on. Our shows will be on there, and we talk about the same thing. We have guests on. We've had Artist Gilmore on. We've had many people on. So any of those two shows I do. But anybody listening now, Michael, I want you on Monday.
I'll
And
be there.
we got next on Facebook Live, and then make sure you make a comment or question.
I definitely will. Again, Paul, thank you so very much for coming on my show. Yep. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
I enjoy talking basketball with you, man. Love it.
Love it too, my man. Take care and God bless.
All right, you too.
Folks, that was my friend Paul McKeskey, a veteran of NBA, 13 years in the NBA. And, wow, it brings back some memories. It was great talking to him about, Michael Ray Richardson, who people probably don't know was a phenomenal player, got involved with drugs and kind of ruined his career, was banned from the NBA for a long time. And, he was a great, great player. And also Lenny Wilkins, as you all know, I always say I'm a basketball historian, so I do recollect a lot of the things that, Paul McKeskey was talking about. And this is what I like doing the show. You know what I mean? It brings back some memories, and it's good having people who actually played the game when it was a total different era. And you heard the names he played against. I mean, come on. Willis Reed, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dave Collins, on and on and on and on and on. So, I mean, it was great having someone with that experience who played in NBA for 12, 13 years. And, this is why I kind of do the show. It's a great feeling. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Sports Wave Network and my show, Sports Corner with the Conn Man. And stay tuned. We got some great guests coming up. And again, thank you for tuning in. Take care and God bless.